Гордон Гралич Радман, а потом армянский министр господин Арарат Мирзоян. Министре, изволите ви први.
Dobar dan svima.
Good morning. It gives me great pleasure to host my colleague, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Armenia, Minister Mirzoyan. Dear Ararat, this return visit is a continuation of intensifying our bilateral cooperation on both political and sectorial level. Soon, we will mark 1 year of my visit as the first Minister of Foreign Affairs of Croatia to have visited officially Armenia. I would like to take this opportunity to thank for cordial, friendly hospitality and the time that was spent with me and my delegation at the time. After that, Minister Mirzoyan in July participated in Dubrovnik Forum. On the bilateral plan, I'm glad to see good parliamentary and cooperation in judiciary, and we will also work on improving cooperation in other areas: employment, social areas, culture, science, education, tourism and sport. I would especially like to emphasize mutual interest for the opportunity of stronger economic cooperation. We are very pleased with the increase in exports to Armenia for the second year in a row. We see potential in IT, transport infrastructure, green and digital transition, pharmaceutical industry, and removing mines. Armenia has developed digital technologies, which I personally was able to see last year when I visited the Center for Creative Technologies, TUMA, in Erevan. Croatia supports strengthening of existing and creating new forms of cooperation between Armenia and the European Union. This will be discussed also in the European Council on Foreign Relations next week. The European Union actively contributes to regional peace, security, and stability in South Caucasus. It has been doing so since December of 2022, when the civilian mission of the European Union in Armenia was established. Croatian government passed a decision on participating up to 5 police officials in these missions, and this decision was made last year. Today's meeting was an opportunity for us to exchange views on the Russian aggression against Ukraine. We also discussed other security challenges in the world. I emphasized strong support of Croatia to the EU enlargement process. This is important for peace, stability and prosperity of the Southeast Europe, and this also has strategic importance for the stability of the entire continent. I reiterated our continuous support, the support of the European Union, to the efforts to achieve sustainable and permanent peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan based on the principles of sovereignty, border integrity, and territorial integrity. I'm glad to see that Armenia recognizes EU efforts at the highest levels to contribute to the normalization of relations between Armenia and Azerbaijan. However, we need joint efforts of all parties, all actors. In that regard, I emphasized and I welcomed direct contacts between Armenia and Azerbaijan as steps towards achieving a peace agreement. that was signed on the 7th of December last year. To conclude, once again, I would like to thank my colleague Mիրզոյան, Ararat, for coming here and for engaging in friendly and constructive discussion. And I look forward to our future cooperation, especially in the area of economy, because I believe that here we have marked significant growth and we have found new areas of cooperation that would be beneficial for both parties. Thank you. Thank you, Minister.
Dear Minister, dear friend, dear Gordon, dear colleagues, thank you, Excellency, for the warm hospitality extended to me and my delegation during this visit. Yesterday I already had fruitful meetings with your Prime Minister and also the Vice President of the Parliament. This follows our previous active engagements. I warmly recall your official visit to Yerevan last February, as well as my visit to Croatia last July and our exchanges at the Dubrovnik Forum. Of course, we should stress that this year is special for our bilateral relations, as we mark the 30th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations. During the past 3 decades, our states have made important efforts aimed at developing high-level political dialogue and mutually beneficial cooperation. I note with satisfaction that our recent reciprocal visits and active interactions reflect the positive dynamics of our bilateral relations, as well as the readiness to further enhance our agenda, deepen the cooperation in various fields and different platforms, and of course strengthen the ties between our two friendly nations. Dear attendees, during our discussions today we touched upon a number of issues of bilateral agenda and possibilities to develop cooperation in different sectors, including economy, culture, IT, tourism, education. Along with the development of the political dialogue, there is huge untapped potential in the economic sphere. While the business forum held in Yerevan during the minister's visit last February was of particular importance, we are keen to promote and expand the trade and economic cooperation to achieve tangible outcomes. We also discussed the ongoing processes and steps undertaken to further enhance the Armenia-EU partnership. The aspirations of our citizens to see the further deepening of this relationship is based on shared values upheld by Armenia, Croatia, and the European Union, particularly in the realms of democracy, protection of human rights, and other fundamental principles. At the same time, our commitment derives from the vision of a better and more secure environment for our citizens. Thus, with my Croatian counterpart, we looked into the whole spectrum of Armenia-EU relations, covering our democratic reform agenda, people-to-people contacts, visa liberalization dialogue, economic cooperation, as well as security matters. In this context, I'm glad to underline that the Armenia-EU partnership is being enhanced with new dimensions, namely the EU monitoring mission and security dialogue. Today we also had the chance to touch upon issues of cooperation in multilateral fora within international organizations, where Armenia and Croatia already have or will further benefit from closer cooperation. Dear colleagues, we exchanged views on international and regional security topics. I thoroughly updated my counterpart on the situation in the South Caucasus. As mentioned, we had earlier opportunities to discuss Armenia's vision of establishing stability and peace in the region, efforts aimed at overcoming the challenges and developing regional connectivity. Unfortunately, we see rhetoric and statements on the high-level Azerbaijani officials, statements that continue challenging the rule-based order, territorial integrity, sovereignty of Armenia, and hence the prospects of lasting peace in the region. I want to stress that we believe our partners interested in stability in the South Caucasus share the same approach, that peace requires unwavering commitment and genuine interest in lasting solutions. Armenia's position has been very clear on possible solutions based on well-known principles and agreements. Countries should recognize each other's territorial integrities without any ambiguity. The peace treaty should provide some clear foundations, namely clear foundations regarding the further delimitation process, which according to our belief should take place in accordance with the Almaty Declaration and based on the freshest and legitimate Soviet Union maps. We also are sure that the connectivity that can be unlocked in the region, that the connectivity, the connections, the economic and transport infrastructures could help also to advance to lasting peace in the region. And we believe that all the infrastructure that are going to be unlocked should be unlocked according to the and under sovereignties and national jurisdictions of the countries, and in accordance with the principles of equality and reciprocity. Moreover, to promote this idea of peace and connectivity, the government of the Republic of Armenia came up with the initiative of Crossroads of Peace, which is, as I said, about unblocking the infrastructure and increasing the interconnectivity in the region. Dear attendees, here I would like to stop. Dear Minister, dear Gordon, thank you once again for your invitation and for comprehensive discussions we had today. And I'm confident that these discussions will provide an excellent basis for further partnership and cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from the media, Croatian television. Question for Minister Radman, but also for Mr. Mirzoyan. Can Croatia, as a country which has been through armed conflict, provide some special advice to Armenia, perhaps mediate in relations between Armenia and Azerbaijan? Croatia went through a defense war. We defended ourselves from the aggressor. This is important to emphasize. In any case, Croatia managed to liberate its country and to establish a peaceful reintegration of the Podunavlje region. So on the 15th of January 1992, Croatia was internationally recognized, and six years later, it also regained previously occupied territories into its sovereignty. After Oluya, after the storm campaign, Croatia invested effort into negotiations. It engaged in talks in order to achieve peace and to restore previously occupied territories. This is Croatian experience, and it was lengthy. However, it ended in the best positive way. So this is really the only way to achieve a satisfactory or acceptable framework for a peaceful agreement. In that regard, we, as a country that later on became a member of the NATO and of the EU, because we have bilateral relations here between our two countries, but we are also a member of the EU, so yes, we can provide, being member of all the most important international organizations, we can provide maximum support in the process of normalizing relations between Armenia and Azerbaijan. These are the elements that relate to building trust. I believe that's the most important thing to do, to build trust and peace. In particular, this would also relate to humane demining. We were involved in Ukraine. Last year we had a donors conference for Ukraine. So this is Croatian experience. We discussed this today. Docking company, which is renowned in the world, is included in this. So this is all our knowledge and our expertise in the military aspects.
Well, thank you very much for the question and for your interest. As I said, Armenia is engaged in negotiations with Azerbaijan in good faith, and we are more than interested in establishing lasting peace in our region. We believe that this will be beneficial not only for the people of Armenia, but all the countries in the region. However, we see that our constructiveness sometimes does not meet the same constructive approach coming from we don't see the same constructive approach in the behavior of our neighbors. We have been engaged in negotiations by facilitation of the European Union among other facilitators. And nowadays we see that Azerbaijan unfortunately rejects to resume the negotiations in the existing frameworks. However, we are interested in continuing our negotiations, and if, as I said, we attach importance not so much to the issue of who facilitates the negotiations, but to the principles according to which the negotiations continue. And here again, I would like to emphasize that the issue of territorial integrity, recognition of legitimate borders, inviolability of borders, as well as respecting each other's sovereignty. These are the principles according to which I believe the peace should be agreed. When it comes to participation of Croatia or the European Union in general, I would like to express our appreciation that the EU and Croatia have showed in ensuring security in our region along the borderline. I already mentioned the EUMA, European Union's Monitoring Mission, but also I would like to express appreciation that Croatia and the other EU countries showed in the context of meeting the urgent needs of the refugees who had to flee Nagorno-Karabakh as a result of a military operation several months ago, since September 2022 by Azerbaijan.
So we technically don't have an Armenian journalist joining our delegation, so I will read one of the questions that we received from the journalist, and I see that understandably it relates to the regional situation and can be follow-up to already made statements. Minister Mիրзոյանի mentioned already, we hear continuous open rhetoric from Azerbaijan which threatens the territorial integrity of Armenia and overall peace in the South Caucasus. We heard recently messages from the European Union that violation of Armenia's territorial integrity might have severe consequences. So how is Croatia positioning in this context and in this current situation? Thank you. And of course the question is addressed to the Minister right now. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Certainly, from the perspective of the European Union, we do not see the potential of escalation regarding the relations between Azerbaijan and Armenia. We are convinced that peace has been achieved, and we will invest all efforts to maintain that peace and to achieve more specific, more concrete goals and which will also include an agreement. EU supports trilateral agreement between EU, Armenia and Azerbaijan, so we will appeal to each side to join this discussion within the EU. We would like to see stability and security in this part of the European continent. Armenia is one of the 6 countries in the East Partnership. Ukraine first got the candidacy status, then accession negotiations were opened, including also Georgia and Moldova. So this is something where we would like to see Armenia. I am convinced that we will continue talks and we will have agreements, and this agreement that was signed in December, on the 7th December, contributes to that. So again, we hope that permanent peace will be achieved in Southern Caucasus. Thank you. This closes the press conference.